The NFL wildcard games has concluded, and it's time for me to give an NFL wildcard recap. Let's go. First up, we have the Texans beating the Chargers 32-12. What a absolute disaster this game was for the Chargers. They chargered at the worst possible time. Justin Herbert played absolutely terrible in this game. Herbert threw 4 interceptions and took a lot of brutal sacks. Even when the Chargers scored on that awesome Matt McConkey touchdown, everything went horrible after that. The extra point was blocked, and it was returned for 2 points from the Texans, and the Chargers didn't score again. And as for the Texans, they did all that they could to take down LA. For the longest time, I've been a Justin Herbert supporter, but after this game, I just now think he's overrated now. I'm sorry, I just cannot support a guy who does not show up in the playoffs. I mean, I know the Texans' defense is good, but come on, Herbert, really? Next up, we have the Ravens beating the Steelers 28-14. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry did all that they could to take down Mike Tomlin's Steelers. And things went well for the Ravens all game long. Their offense looked amazing, and their defense held Pittsburgh to only 14 points. Meanwhile, for the Steelers, Russell Wilson did his job, but couldn't pull away with the win. Also, I feel bad for TJ Watt because I saw his press conference and he looks like he wants out of Pittsburgh. And I don't blame him because they are wasting his prime. Next up, we have the Bills destroying the Broncos 31-7. Things look great for the Broncos in the first quarter. They scored on a Franklin touchdown, but it was all Bills after that. Josh Allen once again did well in this game, which is no surprise because the dude is really, really good. And despite the horrific loss for the Broncos, Bo Nix did all that he could to try to keep the Broncos in this game, but they were just no match for Allen's Bills. And they are going to be moving on to the divisional round against the Ravens, which should be an awesome game. Next up, we have the Eagles beating the Packers 22-10. We all knew that the Packers were going to lose to the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. And it wasn't really close either. The only one who was doing anything well for the Packers was Josh Jacobs. He did all the heavy lifting for the Packers. Because the defense didn't do well, Jordan Love didn't do well, who had 2 interceptions, and the Eagles did all that they could to take down Green Bay. Next up, we have the Commanders beating the Buccaneers 23-20. What an amazing game this was. And this was the only game where it really came down to the wire in the wildcard round. And as a Buccaneers fan, this was a heartbreaking loss. And by the way, can we all stop blaming Baker Mayfield for the loss? Because he did his job. And he was perfect outside of that fumble. Meanwhile, Jane Daniels did all that he could to manage to keep the Commanders in this game and lead a game-winning drive to have Gonzalez nailed a doinked-in field goal to win 23-20, securing Washington's first playoff win in 20 years. And as a Buccaneers fan, this was a heartbreaking way to lose. Because our defense didn't show up in the end, and one doinked-in field goal later, and my whole night was ruined. Washington, I'm not going to hold a grudge against you guys because you guys beat us fair and square, and you guys deserve it. So, Washington, good game. And finally, we have the Rams beating the Vikings 27-9. And before I recap this game took place in Arizona because of the recent wildfires going on in Los Angeles. Please donate. Sam Darnold, I know you kind of get a pass because this was your first playoff game, but dude, what the hell was that? You played so bad like you did in week 18. The Vikings were favored heading into this game because they had one of the best offense and defense in the league, and both did not show up at all and only produced 9 points in this game against the Rams. As for the Rams, they did all that they could to take down the Vikings. Matthew Stafford did well. Cooper Kupp did really good. Kareem Williams did really well. Puka Nacua did well. And Jared Verse had a touchdown in this game, so good for him. And after this one-sided contest, there are 2 questions. 1, will the Rams put up a good fight against the Eagles? Maybe, but we'll see. And meanwhile, for the Vikings, what will they do at quarterback? Something tells me that they're going to get rid of Sam Darnold and have J.J. McCarthy be their starting quarterback next year, because they did draft them and have him be the QB1 and then got injured before the season even started. And Sam Darnold took the wheel, and he looked good until the last few weeks. And even this horrific wildcard game. But I just feel like it's the right choice for the Vikings to move on from the Sam Darnold experiment and move on to J.J. McCarthy.